A 14-year-old girl in Maryland is finding out just how high the price can be for free speech. Hi, I'm Sean Akers, Vice President for Middle Eastern Affairs with Liberty Counsel, standing in for Matt Staver today. And joining me again in studio is Daryl Edwards, the President of Liberty Counsel Action. Daryl, thanks for being with us again today. Daryl, this is one of those situations that really boggles the mind. We have a 14-year-old young lady in Maryland who decided to do the most American thing known to man, and that is to give her political opinion on a bill that is currently before Maryland, that Maryland is considering or will consider, and that is over the issue of homosexual marriage. Now, normally, you would think that a child would get extra points in civics class for taking a civics approach and taking the time to develop a well-thought-out political opinion and to share that in an effective way. This young lady happens to be homeschooled, but the points that she's received have been the top 10 things that listeners would like to do to her for having had the audacity to share her opinion.
Yeah, and it's just outrageous that, you and I have heard her, what she said, and she didn't use any foul language. She was very nice and measured in her remarks. She was actually polite. She just stated her beliefs based on her faith. And for that, she, as you said, she is paying a heavy price. The language against her, the threats against her are really bad. They're just outrageous that someone would take this step to move in that direction, that we will just shut everyone down, a 14-year-old girl who innocently is talking about what she believes.
You know, when I heard this, I thought surely she had to have said something really off the wall. She had to have said something that inspired this kind of anger from people to be receiving death threats. Now, we're going to omit her name to do what we can to protect her anonymity, and you won't see her face. But I want to take just a moment, instead of just discussing what she said, to actually let you hear what she said. Listen to this.
Hi, today is my 14th birthday, and it would be the best birthday present ever if you would vote no on gay marriage. I really feel bad for the kids who have two parents of the same gender. Even though some kids feel like it's fine, they have no idea what kind of wonderful experiences they miss out on. I don't want any more kids to get confused about what's right and okay. I really don't want to grow up in a world where marriage isn't such a special thing anymore. It's rather scary to think that when I grow up, the legislator or the court can change the definition of any word they want. If they can change the definition of marriage, then they could change the definition of any word. People have the choice to be gay, but I don't want to be affected by their choice. People say that they were just born that way, but I've met really nice adults who did change. So please vote no on gay marriage. Thank you.
Now that, ladies and gentlemen, if you find something that is just beyond the pale or patently offensive in that, somebody's going to have to point it out to me. What I see there is a 14-year-old child who had the ability to articulate one side of a very legitimate political argument. She did so and gave her opinion. She gave a very well-reasoned explanation of why she holds that opinion, which is, quite frankly, more than most of the adults do on this issue on either side of the argument. She did an excellent job. She didn't attack anybody. She didn't say anything that I can see that would have been just patently offensive or hate-filled. She just gave her opinion. Now, Daryl, the responses that have been posted to this young lady, the comments and responses that has been posted to this literally included death threats.
Yeah, and I thought that was outrageous. But one thing I wanted to point out was that her level of understanding of even like constitutional issues were, in my opinion, were like a founding father's level, because she had said, as you heard on the tape, she said that it's scary to think that when I grow up, the legislature or the court can change the definition of any word they want. If they could change the definition of marriage, they could change the definition of any word. She understands Orwellian-type tyranny, and better than most adults, and I dare say better than probably most legislatures in the Maryland legislature.
What an excellent point. We teach a lot here at Liberty University. I want policy students to understand what this little girl gets innately, and that's this, that there are two ways to change a law. You can either change what the law says, or you can change what the words that make up the law mean. She understands it, that the easier way to do that, she cuts exactly to what we're talking about. When you see Liberty Counsel talking about the importance of the way we interpret the Constitution, whether we take it at face value for what it actually says, or whether we follow this living Constitution idea, which basically says we're going to go in and redefine what the terms mean, that the court, instead of seeing speech, we're going to find, in a penumbra, the right of privacy that we then interpret to mean that you can take the life of unborn children. You can stretch these things by redefining what the terms mean. This little 14-year-old girl gets it. She understands that what the legislature is doing here is taking a term, marriage, that for centuries has meant something very particular, and for over 200 years of American history has meant something very particular, and in one fell swoop, they're trying to redefine what that term means. And what she says is so wise that, wait a minute, if a legislature can do this, if they can change my rights by redefining an existing term of marriage, then they can change my rights by redefining any other term that they'd like to. What a brilliant observation from a 14-year-old child.
And isn't that exactly what we've seen, not to get too far off the subject, but under the Obamacare passage, when they stretched the meaning of the term, under the Commerce Clause and activity there, that they've defined it as inactivity. I mean, I mentioned Orwell before. How much more like that can you be? Where I think the quote in the 1984 was "freedom is slavery," and so they turn things completely on their head.
I hope these legislators will, even if they disagree with her, will listen very, very carefully to what she said, because they could learn a lot just from how the process actually works. She's also learning firsthand, unfortunately, what Saul Alinsky meant by his Rule 5, that ridicule is the greatest political weapon, that when you can't beat somebody logically, you beat them up. You call them names and you threaten them. In the law, one of the things that we call this, Daryl, there's a situation where someone exercises their right of free speech and others respond to it in such a violent way that courts have said the person speaking can't speak anymore. And we call that a heckler's veto. It means that people are yelling at you so loud that you're the one that gets punished without being able to speak. That's really what the far left is attempting to do to this 14-year-old girl. Rather than congratulating her and trying to persuade her, rather than saying, what a great opportunity for a child to take part in the political process. We disagree with her, but what a great opportunity for her to do that. And she did a nice civil job of making her case. Instead of doing that, they're sending death threats, Daryl, because they want to shut up this little 14-year-old girl. I just can't get over this.
Absolutely, and there could be people who are listening to us now may disagree with her opinion, but they certainly should disagree with those who are issuing those kind of threats in this civil society that we're trying to have, open discussion and talking about the issues, not to shout people down. And if you can go online and you can look at videos of where outraged young people have come into events where someone's just making a speech at a university and they are just heckled and shouted down, and the person actually ends up having to leave the podium. There was nothing accomplished there.
This really does beg the question on these far left issues, when individuals are not being allowed to speak without threats. When a 14-year-old child can't give a well-thought-out political opinion, we're reaching into very foreign territory for American society. This is precisely and exactly what the Constitution was given to us to protect from. It was to protect liberty, this little girl's right. And one of the great lines from the left is that I will fight to the end to protect your right to be wrong, but to speak it. Well, where are those people fighting for this young lady?
That's right.
You can join with Liberty Counsel as we fight for the rights of all people to be able to speak their mind and to be able to exercise those rights that they were endowed by their Creator with. Call us at 1-800-671-1776 or visit us at lc.org.